Election officials in Ottawa are watching closely for any signs of foreign interference during the campaign. Elections Canada and the Centre for Cybersecurity both spoke today about what and who they're watching out for. The CBC's Mark Harkisol has more details. So, Mark, what exactly are officials saying about this?
Well, Andrew, we got a technical briefing around noon today about how security and intelligence officials plan to watch over the election and try to make sure that it's a safe, secure election. Much of the responsibility falls upon the CITE task force, and CITE stands for Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections. Now, they talked about monitoring the various information and rhetoric that goes around online, on broadcast, wherever the case may be regarding our elections, monitoring the scope, scale, source, credibility, and potential impact of any threats. They also talked about the need to balance free speech with any potential threats. Now, they did declare that if there were any real imminent threats to the safety of our election, that they would declare those publicly, let the public know about them, but they have to be very careful about that. It has to meet a very high bar, because they say if we accidentally put out information about a threat and it doesn't turn out to be very credible, it could actually undermine the process and make things less secure for the election. So it's a very high responsibility that they have, but they're assuring people they're not looking at your public declarations on social media about what candidate you like. They're not looking into, say, foreign celebrity endorsements of candidates in our election. They're looking for real, legitimate threats that go toward furthering means from foreign actors. And speaking of foreign actors, Vanessa Lloyd with CSIS spoke at the news conference today and talked about some of the nations that they're keeping their eyes on closely here.
The People's Republic of China, or PRC, will likely continue to target Canadian democratic institutions and civil society to advance its strategic objectives. Canadian and Canada-based proxies, as well as contacts in their networks, are increasingly relied on to conduct Government of India foreign interference activities. Russia has undertaken sustained efforts to build dissemination networks across social media and news websites that repurpose and amplify Kremlin talking points.
Now, this CITE task force is a collection, a panel, if you will, of experts from various security and intelligence groups. This was part of the public inquiry into foreign interference in our elections. One of the recommendations was laying out a clear mandate for that task force.
And there was another briefing about the election earlier today. What did we learn there?
Yeah, this one was an operational briefing. It was run by the Chief Electoral Officer of Elections Canada, Stéphane Perreault. He talked about the election. He says it's a robust process. He has faith that it will be conducted safely. He talked about various things about the election, including the estimated cost. He now says it'll be about $570 million to run this election, which he says comes in slightly less expensive than the last federal election he had. He talked about efforts to engage further with the Indigenous community and make voting more accessible for Indigenous communities, voting on campus for students and faculty. But he also talked about the safety of the election as well, and the findings of the Oak Commission, which is that public inquiry into foreign interference, and talked about how they couldn't necessarily implement every aspect of that commission, of the 51 recommendations made coming out of it, because Parliament has been prorogued and some of them need parliamentary approval. But he says he still has a lot of confidence in the system.
We've learned from the Commission that there are a range of countries that can have or have an interest in Canada's electoral process. But we've also learned from the Commission that our process is robust. So I am confident that we will deliver a safe election as we have in the past.
Now, one of the hot topics about the safety of our election has been the recent interview done by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith with Breitbart before Mark Carney's selection as the Liberal leader. He was asked directly about that, Stéphane Perreault was. He says that according to the rules that Elections Canada governs elections by, that does not meet the criteria for foreign interference. I know it's a question a lot of people have been asking.
It has been, yeah. Mark, thank you. The CBC's Mark Harkisol.